Welcome back to the pre-learning module for Ship Safety Course, Part 7. This module, Part 7, covers the topic of Port State Control, PSC, and the International Maritime Organization, IMO, Member States Audit Scheme, IMSAS, indicated in red on the slide. This slide shows an overview regarding Port State Control. 5.1. Background of Port State Control. This section explains why and how the concept of PSC was introduced. This slide shows the serious marine causalities that have occurred that led to the enactment of many new regulations and conventions for ship safety and environment protections. These include the following: Titanic, 1912, Solus Convention; Torrey Canyon, 1967, MARPOL, STCW; Amoco Cadiz, 1978, MARPOL; Herald of Free Enterprise, 1987, Solus Convention, ISM Code; Exxon Valdez, 1989, MARPOL, Double Hull Tankers; Estonia, 1994, Solus Convention; Erica, 1995, and Prestige, 2002, Rapid Phase-Out of Single Hull Tankers. This slide is about flag state control. A flag state is a jurisdiction under which a merchant vessel is registered or licensed. A flag state enforces its vessel's compliance with maritime conventions. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, requires that every ship be registered with a state and all ships operate under the laws of the flag state. The flag state is responsible for promulgating national laws that implement international conventions. 1.3. Increased Flag of Convenience ships. The term Flag of Convenience, FOC, describes a business practice whereby a ship's owners register a merchant ship in a state other than that of the ship's owners. Owners register under FOCs as it allows them to enjoy benefits from low costs. For ship owners, the merit of using FOCs is that it allows them to avoid relatively expensive taxes and stringent national laws regarding labour and environmental protection. Registering under FOCs also helps ship owners reduce maintenance costs. This slide shows why PSC is needed. In the past, FOC countries have lacked the will or the capacity to implement maritime convention requirements as flag state administrations, such as survey and certification systems. The cheap maintenance cost is attractive to ship owners, which has led to an increase in the use of FOCs. This increase in FOC use has consequently led to an increasing number of substandard ships and numerous marine casualties. Conventions have introduced the PSC system to supplement the functions of flag states. When ships are in a port of the member states of the conventions, the ship is subject to control by the officer of port state under relevant conventions, such as Solus, MARPOL, and STCW. Global acknowledgement of the increasing need for environmental protection means that PSC will play an increasingly important role in the world of maritime affairs. This slide shows the instrument for PSC and the relevant provisions for conducting PSC inspections as per different conventions. This slide uses the example of Solus 1974, in which the first 3 paragraphs of Regulation 19, Control, mention the following. A. Every ship when in a port of another contracting government is subject to control by officers duly authorized by such government insofar as this control is directed towards verifying that the certificates issued under Regulation 12 or Regulation 13 are valid. B. Such certificates, if valid, shall be accepted unless there are clear grounds for believing that the condition of the ship or of its equipment does not correspond substantially with the particulars of any of the certificates, or that the ship and its equipment are not in compliance with the provisions of Regulation 11A and B. C. In the circumstances given in paragraph B, or where a certificate has expired or ceased to be valid, the officer carrying out the control shall take steps to ensure that the ship shall not sail until it can proceed to sea or leave the port for the purpose of proceeding to the appropriate repair yard without danger to the ship or persons on board. 5.3. Regional PSC regimes. PSC works effectively if every country in the area works together in cooperation. At its 17th Assembly session, the IMO recognized the important contribution to maritime safety and pollution prevention made through regional cooperation under the Paris Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, in preventing the operation of substandard ships. Thus, they adopted Assembly Resolution A687/17. In 1982, 14 European countries agreed to the establishment of the Paris Memorandum of Understanding for Port State Control, the Paris MOU. Today, there are 26 European signatories, plus Canada. Worldwide, there are now 9 MOUs for PSC regimes. The main objectives of a regional PSC regime are 1. The harmonization of PSC inspections in the region, and 2. The sharing of information on PSC inspections. These objectives are accomplished through holding regular meetings with member states, conducting seminars, and training PSC officers, maintaining the PSC inspection database network system, and developing PSC manuals. During this course, a lecture will be presented by the Secretary of the Tokyo MOU Secretariats regarding their recent activities. 5.4 PSC Procedures. The IMO Assembly adopted the Procedures of Port State Control 2019 resolution at its 31st session. The MOUs for regional PSC regimes have developed PSC manuals that include this resolution on standard procedures for PSC inspections. The document provides basic guidance to ensure consistency in inspections and the recognition of the deficiencies of a ship, its equipment, or its crew. The next section of this module covers the IMO Member States Audit Scheme, IMSAS, as follows. 6.1 Background. 6.2 Amendments to the Conventions to make the IMO instruments implementation of III Code mandatory. 6.3 III Code, Objective and Structure. 6.4 Recent developments regarding the IMSAS. This slide introduces the history of the IMSAS. In 2011, the IMO adopted a new resolution introducing the Voluntary IMO Member State Audit Scheme, VIMSAS. The audit scheme started as voluntary, but became mandatory with the adoption of Assembly Resolution A1070/28. The IMO Member State Audit Scheme started on 1 January 2016. The IMO regularly updates the non-exhaustive list of obligations under instruments relevant to the III Code. This slide shows the Convention's amendment resolutions to make the III Code mandatory. In each convention, the amendments were made to include a clause mandating the IMSAS. Note that in the resolution, whenever the word should is used in the III Code, it is read as being shall, except in paragraphs 29, 30, 31 and 32. Those paragraphs are the qualification requirements of flag state surveyors. The slide shows excerpts from Chapter 13, Verification of Compliance, of the Solus Convention as an example. Regulation 2 provides that all member states have to use the III Code in the execution of their obligations and responsibilities contained in the present convention. Regarding Regulation 3, it states that every member state is subject to periodic audits. These states also have responsibility for facilitating the conduct of such audits. IMO Resolution A1067/28, Framework and Procedures for IMSAS, is also important for the preparation and implementation of the IMSAS. Audits are conducted at periodic intervals not exceeding 7 years. This slide shows the objective of the III Code. The objective of the III Code is to assist the member states in the implementation of the conventions to enhance global maritime safety and protect the marine environment. Sections 1 to 2 of the III Code recognises that flag states are bound only to those conventions of which they are signatories. By virtue of geography and circumstance, some states might have a greater role as a flag state than as a port state or a coastal state, whilst others might have a greater role as a coastal state or a port state than as a flag state. This slide shows structure of the III Code. The III Code is the code for member states to implement their obligations and responsibilities outlined in the present convention. The code consists of 3 parts, and each part defines the obligations of the member states in their individual roles. Part 1 lists the obligations applicable to all member states. Part 2 is for flag states. Part 3 is for coastal states, and Part 4 is for port states. This slide shows a recent development of the IMAS, the schedule of audits in 2021, which was re-coordinated by the IMO because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This slide shows the schedule of audits for 2022, which was also re-coordinated by IMO because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for your kind attention. This concludes Part 7 of this module.